I think it's time. It says it's 10:15, so it's time to come to order, I guess. Good morning, my friends. It's good to see you here at Holmeswood Baptist Church. My name is Jan McMean. It is a great day to gather together to worship with you and this morning. The sun's shining. I see that's one nice thing about all the glass doors back there. You can see out and see the sun shining in. It's a beautiful day. Welcome to those of you who are here and to those of you who are viewing us online. We're so glad you have joined us. If you are online, take a few seconds to make a comment on that site, and we can see who has joined us, and it's always fun to read those comments later on to see who was here. If this is your first time to worship at Holmeswood, we are so thrilled you're here, and we would like to know you. In order to connect with you, please use the QR code on the back of the worship bulletin or on the screen, if you see it on the screen, which will ask you how you prefer to connect with us. If you are unfamiliar with QR codes, ask somebody around you. It took me a while to figure out how to use QR codes, and I think my daughter finally showed me how. So don't be afraid to ask what a QR code is and how to get it on your phone. Also, in the pew rack in front of you, it's a visitor's card, sorry. If you can fill out the visitor's card, you can place this in the plates later in the service, or there is a basket as you leave the sanctuary after worship. When you complete this card, $10 will be donated in your name to Hillcrest Transitional Housing in your honor. Hillcrest is an organization that we work with that provides help to homeless families, helps them become self-supportive, self-reliant contributors to our society. It is a great organization. A few quick announcements. One is the skate party. This coming Friday night, the family ministry team is hosting a skate party in the Holmeswood gym from 6 to 8 p.m. Join us for skating, games, pizza, fun. A $5 donation will be accepted. Invite your neighbors and grandchildren. Roller skates and a limited number of skate walkers will be available. Personal skates and roller blades are also allowed. We hope you can join us. Our second announcement, it relates to graduation recognition. It's hard to believe that the school year is almost over. Someone said this morning they have 28 more days of school left. That doesn't seem possible. But we will want to recognize the graduates on Sunday, May 5th during worship. Graduates of high school, college, trade schools, and graduate schools will be recognized at that time. Please let the office know if you or someone you know who attends our church will be graduating so we can recognize them that day. The pancake fundraiser will be held also on May 5th. The youth will be providing a pancake brunch after worship that Sunday. Donations will be accepted to help pay for the cost of summer camp. Some of our youth are going to a youth front camp this summer in Edgerton, Kansas, June 10th through the 14th. So we'll save you having to go out to eat. You can just go back and have pancakes with your church family. Finally, our next Open Doors Sunday morning small group will be the 4 Sundays in May, the 5th, the 12th, the 19th, and the 26th. Chris Collins will be facilitating this Open Doors small group, leading a discussion on the book, Everything Happens for a Reason, and Other Lies I've Loved, by Kate Bowler. That sounds interesting. This discussion will take place during the BFG hour from 9 to 10. Location will be announced soon. The church is also planning on ordering some copies of the book if you're interested in that. This is the season of Easter. From Easter Sunday until Pentecost, we intentionally focus on resurrection. You and I worship a Christ who is resurrected. Let us bring all that we are to this time of worship. Let us worship the Christ who is risen. Thank you.
Stand, let's worship God.
we invite the children to come forward for the children's time here on the front row with our new friend Alex. Thanks for coming, Alex, today. Come on down, everybody. Great. Look at all of you. Come on, Charlotte. You got it.
Charlotte, right here.
Big sister saving you a seat. Good morning. Do you all know how excited we are to see you here at church every week? Are you all excited to see them and have them come to worship with you? It's a wonderful time to get together. We hope that you know that, and we're happy you're here. Our Bible story this week is very similar to the one that we had last week. Some of you were here and we heard about how when Jesus' disciples got together, which they're doing again this week, that suddenly Jesus just showed up right there in the room with them in his resurrected body. Remember that? And do you remember what he said to them when he showed up? I know Hayden remembers. Yes, Miriam. He said, peace be with you. He said, peace be with you. And he breathed his spirit on them, and that breath gives us peace too that we share with others. Well, today it's another story where Jesus shows up when his disciples got together, and he says it again. Peace be with you. Now, when somebody says something twice, do you think we should listen more closely? Peace be with you. Last week we learned how to share the peace with our breath with other people. Today we're going to learn how to share the peace with our hands by learning the sign language for peace be with you. And I'm going to invite all of the grown-ups in the room to learn this with us because I think it's pretty amazing. You ready to learn something? How to do peace be with you with sign language? First of all, you got to look at your hands. Look at those. How can you share peace with your hands? That's what we're going to do. First, you do this. Cross over your palms, okay? Peace is actually two different words in sign language put together. And this first one, you put your palms together, then you switch them around like this. Just slide your hand around. And this actually means change, to change or become. One more time. Switch, become, and then still. Ready? Try it again. Become still or calm. And it means peace. So together, that means peace. Let's do it. Peace. One more time. Peace. Be with, put your fists together, thumbs up, you. Pretty easy, right? Let's try it all together. Peace be with you. Or you can point if you want to do that, but I kind of like that. Okay, that's the first part. Because when the disciples got together is when Jesus would say this. Early Christians, when they would get together for like groups like church, they would say, peace be with you, and then somebody would say back to them, and also with you. So peace be with you, and then the other person would say, and also with you. The sign for that is this, kind of like hang 10. And also with you, okay? So I thought maybe we'd try saying this to one another. It's called passing the peace. Are any of you comfortable standing up here and doing it facing the congregation? How about if you feel like it, you can stand up here and face all of these grown-ups, okay? You don't have to. All right. You all ready? They're going to sign peace be with you to you, and you're going to say, and also with you. Okay. Ready to try it? I'll help you remember. Ready? Peace be with you. What are they saying back to you? Can you say it? And also with you. All right, good. Peace be with you. Amen. You can go back.
God of holy surprises, infuse us with your wild wonder. Attune our hearts to all the ways you dance through the world, from the ordinary to the sublime. Sustain us in the daily practice of opening our eyes to grace. Expand our imaginations to see more deeply and more widely than before. Align us with all the ways you are at work, always extending a new vision when all seems shut down. Help us to experience the eruption of seeds in springtime and that abundant growth as a sign of your generous love. Inspire us to begin again and again.
Mighty Now, for some of you who have been around Holmeswood for a handful of years, that song might mean something special to you. That song was commissioned for Holmeswood by Mark Hayes in celebration of Holmeswood's 50th anniversary. I believe my math is right that would have been done in 2005 because Holmeswood was founded in 1955. Something about that song, that lyrics, that energy, that life that is in that song speaks and sings well of Holmeswood. Holmeswood is not a faith community in which you piously come in here and consider things, sacred things in your mind by yourself. Holmeswood has a history and a tradition of embodying faith wherever you go. That image on the screen during the song was of people building houses or something like that. And I'm reminded of the time before I arrived, there was a team of Holmeswoodians who would go around and help and build and construct stuff, whether from disaster relief or in places that need help building. I didn't know that image was going to be on the screen during the second congregational song from the Pride weekend this past year. Do you realize the way of that embodying of Holmeswood being in that space is a continuation of the ethos that is already here? Love of Christ doesn't reside just in this space, but goes wherever Holmeswood goes and identifies the goodness of Christ that is all around. And with the addition of Pastor Tammy and Pastor Michael, who will soon be coming, they will help lead us into the future of where is resurrection all around us and how can we partner with God in the work that is already happening. Do you hear what I'm saying? Building on the tradition, moving forward. You and I are not in the business of keeping an institution alive. No, we are in the business of participating with Christ in the good work of love and changing all of creation. Which means this is a wonderful message for the Easter season. Handful of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, we heard the story as Mark told the story of the women going to the tomb, and the tomb was empty. And Mark just ends the story. They go away, told to go tell the story, but they and Mark go away quiet and afraid. Well, last week we heard the story as John tells it of the apostles. They're huddled in the room behind locked doors for fear of what happened to Jesus might happen to them. And the resurrected Christ appears in the room and says, "Peace be with you." That's great. That's wonderful. But a handful of times later, they're back in the locked room again. Go. Peace. And today we're going to hear the story as Luke tells it. Jesus has died, he is resurrected. In Luke, the women experience the resurrected Christ. They hear the message, they do go and tell. They tell the apostles, and then what Luke tells the story is Cleopas and his friend, a side story, are walking down the street, and the stranger comes by who doesn't know anything that's happened about Jesus, is so the stranger says. And Cleopas and the companions say, "Well, how have you not heard about any of this? Are you the only one who doesn't know what has happened?" And they tell the stranger the story over and over, and then all of a sudden they realize, oh, this is no stranger, this is Christ in our midst. And they eat with him, and then Cleopas and the companion go to the apostles, and we pick up the story there. Luke chapter 24, verses 36 through 48. While Cleopas and the companion, were talking about this with the apostles in the room, Jesus himself stood among them and said to them, "Peace be with you." Now they were all startled and terrified and thought that they were seeing a ghost. So Jesus said to them, "Why are you frightened? And why do doubts arise in your hearts? Look at my hands, my flesh. Look at the tangibleness of my feet. See that it is I myself. touch me and see. For a ghost does not have flesh and bones as you see that I have. And when Jesus had said this, he showed them his hands and his feet. And while in their joy they were disbelieving and still wondering, he said to them, have you anything here to eat? Y'all, ghosts don't eat. So they gave him a piece of broiled fish, and he took it and he ate in their presence. And then Jesus said to them, these are my words that I spoke to you while I was still with you, that everything written about me in the law of Moses and the prophets and the Psalms must be fulfilled. And then Jesus opened their minds to understand the scriptures, and he said to them, thus it is written, the Messiah is to suffer and to rise from the dead on the third day, and that repentance and forgiveness of sins is to be proclaimed in his name to all the nations, beginning from Jerusalem. And you, each of you, are witnesses to all of these things. Resurrection is peculiar. People don't come back from the dead. Ghosts don't eat. One of my greatest pet peeves are audiobooks. Now, not audiobooks in general. Some of them I can get behind when it's the author or famous person who is reading the story to me and I listen to it and I hear the story and I'm engaged in the story. I don't mind those audiobooks. But some audiobooks, I'm convinced it is AI who is reading it to me. It's an artificial, computerized voice because the words are perfect. The computer is reading the words exactly as they're printed on the page. And even there is a change in inflection and tone with the voice. But there is a systematic rhythm to each and every sentence. And every sentence ends with a fall of pitch. Don't you know when you end with a question, your voice is supposed to rise? But every time with AI, the voice falls. It's the same pattern, same rhythm, same timbre. And it just crawls under my skin whenever I hear AI read it to me because I know it's not real. It's too mechanical. It's too systematical. There's no life inside of it. And if I make it to the end of the first chapter, I've made it longer than what I normally can because I just know that it lacks believability. And this Easter season, it is not enough to simply declare that the tomb is empty. It is not enough to simply proclaim with your lips, Christ is risen. No, you and I have to at some point move from proclaiming the event of resurrection and move from proclaiming to experiencing and embodying resurrection. It has to move from rote expectation to an embraced reality. Now, see, Cleopas and his colleagues are there in the room, and they're telling the disciples that Jesus has appeared to them on that road to Emmaus. And they say, y'all, we have seen him. I know it doesn't make sense, yet we heard his voice. We saw him, but we know that Jesus died, and ghosts don't come back from the dead. Jesus was crucified, and he was buried. And y'all, you can't blame Cleopas and his colleague for having a bit of suspicion with all of this. It's as if they were continuing to live in the framework of how the world is structured. There is spirit and there's matter. There's divinity and there's humanity. And those two don't coexist. And yet, just like Cleopas and his friend, whenever you and I make clear distinctions like this of separateness of one of the other, we are then closing our minds and we lose our sense and ability to recognize the sacredness that is in our midst, the sacredness that is in each other, the sacredness that is in ourselves. We lose the ability to embody resurrection. You see, with Jesus' resurrection, though, God shatters all preconceived notions of who God is, of where God is found, and how God works in creation. Jesus' resurrection forces each of us to consider beyond our historical understandings of reality and calls and dares us to step into a sense of divine reality. You see, this new sense of understanding of resurrection begins with the tangible, begins with the fleshy things of creation, things of fish and bones, and of the physical, of hands and feet. But can God be in the tangible, in the physical? God is sacred and other. What do we do with Mary, though? Inside of Mary's physical womb, hands and feet were created. Divinity was birthed. Those same hands and feet that would hang on a cross. That same stomach that ate bread and fish were birthed inside of her womb. It is those same hands and feet that then appeared to Cleopas and his friend on that road to Emmaus. The same one who ate fish and filled his stomach with nutrients, who then haphazardly? No. Who then vanished from their sight. The physical interacting and embodying the spiritual. And now Jesus shows up unannounced and unexpected with the epistles. The apostles, he passes through locked doors and secluded walls. He shows them his flesh, his hands and his feet. He shows them his skin and his bones. And this is where my mind gets nutty. Resurrection is both tangible and fleshy, that you can touch it and experience it. But it is not limited to just the physical. It is not bound by created order that you and I expect. No, the resurrected body and life of Christ connect both the visible and the invisible, connect both the physical and the spirit of humanity and spirit. That yes, on the one hand, Jesus has a real, tangible body, and yet on the other hand, that tangible body is not subject to the natural laws. Jesus' resurrection is not a reanimated corpse. It is not a disembodied soul. It is not connected to simple resuscitation nor regeneration. No, it is something much richer and deeper and broader than that, something much qualitatively different. I think that it begins with something like this. The resurrected life of Christ reveals every one of us are filled with God. Every one of us are filled with holiness, filled with divinity. And when you start to embody this way, you cannot help but produce unconditional love, unconditional forgiveness, unconditional life. Which I think is one of the most difficult things for you and I to see. One of the most difficult things for you and I to believe and live into. It is so much easier to say with our mouths, I believe in the way of Jesus. I believe in resurrection. And yet it is much more difficult, though, to embody this divine reality in which we are invited to embrace. And it's not some invitation to embrace at some future point, but it is an invitation to embody it here and now. This is very theoretical, and I understand that. How do you talk about resurrection without talking up here? Be very clear. What I'm trying to say is resurrection is not some cognitive thing that we proclaim. It involves the tangible, the physical, the here and the now. How, though, do you embody resurrection? How do you tell someone how to fall in love? I wish I could give you a to-do list, a checkmark box type of a thing. When falling in love, what I could say is, well, you go on dates. You tell the person sweet, kind things in their ear. You buy them little gifts. But each of these things in of themselves don't cause someone to fall in love, do they? Nor are the ways of resurrection a checklist, no matter what the church has proclaimed. No way is the way of resurrection here's the outline of exactly what you're supposed to do each and every moment. Maybe it might be helpful, though, to leave some breadcrumbs to see where the path takes you, wherever resurrection takes you. Imagine with me. Think of a time in recent years when you have lost track of time. And I'm not simply talking about you forgot to bring your watch or you didn't know what time it was in the clock. No, it was you were transported into another space and another day. I think resurrection starts in a place like that. Or remember when your heart was at one time opened, when at some point it softened, and you knew that from that point forward you were different. Recall a day when you sensed something new was being offered to you, possibilities that you did not create for yourself. Who is a person that has surprised you? They loved you, and you saw life in them that should not have been there. When was a time when your life went to hell and there was no way out? And then one day you woke up and you realized, I'm going to be okay. I think these are kinds of places of what the embodiment and the awareness of resurrection looks like. There are moments when Christ opens our minds to more clearly understand. There are times filled with wonder and with awe, and they leave us in stunned and sacred silence. It's as if our souls are filled with tears, and tears not from sorrow nor pain, but they are waters of new life. These are the moments in which you say, I never want this to end. These are the moments of the beginnings of resurrection. Barbara Brown Taylor says it much more poetically and elegantly than I ever could. Taylor says this: the supreme religious challenge is to see God's image in one who is not our image. For only then can we see past our reflections in the mirror to the God who we did not make up. Or maybe there's another way of describing it. Maybe it's an antithetical way of seeing it. Maybe it's the way that C.S. Lewis writes it and tells the story in the end of the Chronicles of Narnia in that great battle. There at the end of the story, the old Narnia, the old world is passing away, and the new Narnia, the new creation, is coming into fruition. And there's a scene as the old is giving way to the new. There's a scene in which the dwarves are huddled together, facing one another, refusing to pay attention to what's happening around them. And the little girl Lucy goes up to Aslan, the great god character, and Lucy pleads with Aslan to do something to help make the dwarves understand. But Aslan explains to her, I will show you what I can and what I cannot do. You see, they, the dwarves, will not let us help them. They have chosen cunning instead of beliefs. Their prison is only in their minds, yet they are in that prison, and so afraid of being taken in that they cannot be taken out. When our faith is focused so much on the legalities, on the structure, on what is right and wrong, on who is in and out, and when we are so focused on what orthodoxy is, we are like those dwarves huddled together, refusing to embrace the new reality that already is at work. Embodying the way of resurrection is the way of letting go, of saying, I'm going to step into this way, and I don't know where it's going to take me or what it will all entail. But I'm not here to promote legalities. I'm here to promote and embody love, no matter what. It's so easy. It's so easy to come here each and every Sunday and listen to the stories and proclaim praises with our lips. It's so easy to talk of good news and of resurrection and of God's life and love, and it's so easy then to return back to life as normal. It's so easy to look at all the creation around our eyes and convince ourselves that what we see is all that there is and all that ever will be. Don't give in to that temptation. Your life is too important to let that happen. No, let the ways of resurrection open your eyes and open your heart and your hands and your mind and your soul to the life that Christ is offering you. Let the way of resurrection be the voice of Christ in your mind and in your mouth. Let the way of resurrection be in the love that you are doing and embodying. Tell it, live it, become it, embody it. The resurrected life is yours. Would you please join me in prayer? Creator, as we continue on this Easter season with you, as we continue to explore what life with you and in you entails, we name and recognize that it's so easy to fall back into what we know, what we have experienced, of what has always been said and taught and believed. Lord, give us the courage to step more fully into your way. Give us the courage to step more fully into the unknown of what might be, of what can be, of what is. Give us the courage to embrace and open and give and love. Give us the courage to see you all around and within. Lord, I pray all this in your Son's great name. Amen. The ways of Christ are not sedentary. The ways of Christ are not passive. The ways of Christ are active and are alive. During this time of response, I invite you to respond in whatever way you are being considered. Maybe you haven't been baptized, and you'd like to explore, what does baptism look like? And maybe you would like prayer for something that's specifically happening in your life. Well, I'll be over on this side. This is also a time in which you can bring your tithes and offerings to the front. If you're unable to do so, just raise your hand and someone will help you. If you're online, you can use the QR code. Maybe you want to make Holmeswood your church home as a church member. I'll be on this side if we can all explore this together. Let each of us sing and let each of us respond.
Stand, strong tower. Wander through the desert, and I'm longing for my home, and my dreams have gone astray. When I'm stranded in the valley, and I'm tired and all alone, it seems I've lost my way. I go running to your mountain, where your mercy sets me free. You are my strong tower, a shelter over me, beautiful and mighty, everlasting King. You are my strong tower, a fortress when I'm weak. Your name is true and holy, and your face is all I see. In the middle of the darkness, in the midst of all my fear, your refuge and my home. When the storm of life is raging and the thunder's all I hear, I speak softly to my soul. I go running to the mountain, where your mercy sets me free. You are my strong tower, a shelter over me, beautiful and mighty, everlasting King. You are my strong tower, a fortress when I'm weak. Your name is true and holy, and your face is all I see. I go running to your mountain, where your mercy sets me free. You are my strong tower, a shelter over me, beautiful and mighty, everlasting King. You are my strong tower, a fortress when I'm weak. Your name is true and holy, and your face is all I see.
A couple of updates for each of us. Tammy and Jody Gill are coming this week as official members of Holmeswood. They were members a while ago. We found the card, and they are coming now to make Holmeswood officially their church home. And so if you are thrilled and excited not only to welcome Pastor Tammy on staff, which she already is, but even more deeply than that, to welcome Tammy and Jody as a member of Holmeswood, would you please wave at them and say amen? Amen. Welcome, welcome. A few weeks ago, Gary Youngblood, and his name, yep, there he is. Gary Youngblood approached me He said, David, I've been on staff for the past 14 years. I've loved, he didn't say all of it, but most of it. But he says, I'm ready to retire. And so what I want to just publicly say is Gary has been incredibly wonderful for the past decade and a half. This is not his final Sunday. This is not your final Sunday, no. Gary's final Sunday will be May the 26th, 2/6. So you're going to want to make sure that you are here that Sunday. We will work to celebrate and honor Gary for his decade and a half of custodial work here at the church. We are already working on the transition. Chris Haynes, who has been our part-time custodian, will be trained under Gary to take on more custodial responsibilities, just as Don Duvall trained Gary for this work. Also, we are not going to be able to replace Gary. He does so much. So where we are headed is we're actually going to be creating two positions. One, Chris Haynes will take over custodial work, and another, we're creating a new position called the property manager. And the property manager will then oversee the property of the church, will help supervise custodial staff, will serve as liaison to the various tenants around the church building, and will help create relationships with possible new tenants in the future. As we get closer to this kind of stuff, we'll roll more of that out. But I want you to know the preview of where we are headed. I am also hopeful and thrilled and excited that Gary has talked about continuing in some capacity with the sanctuary choir. So while he might be retiring from the custodial work, my hope and my encouragement and strong, he's talked about in some way continuing with the choir, and that is a good thing. May 26th, we will honor and celebrate Gary. Lastly, Dr. Michael Patch. Michael has, come on now. This is Michael's last, Dr. Patch, Michael, last Sunday with us as interim worship coordinator. Michael, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your friendship. It was Michael's idea to one sermon when the sermon text was about the children interrupting Jesus. It was Michael's idea for the children to parade down the aisle and interrupt the sermon. It was Michael's idea for Ash Wednesday for us not to sit in the pew, but to sit in a circle and face one another. Michael brings integrity, brings leadership, brings friendship. I'm going to miss our Tuesday morning meetings each week. But in the same kind of a way, Michael is not leaving either. Coral Spectrum is still here. His office is still in the office area. And so while this is your final Sunday here with us, know that we don't expect you to leave in general either. Right. Know of our love for you, our thanks for you, and all the good work that you've done to help lead us for the past 3 months. Good. Dr. Michael Herter starts on staff tomorrow and will be here next Sunday to lead in worship. For all of us, Christ is in you, whether you like it or not. Christ is all around you, whether you like it or not. As you go from this place, go with a sense of awareness, a sense of courage, a sense of tenacity to embrace and love and give. For when you are doing this, you are embodying resurrection. Our official benediction will be sung. May all of us go in peace after this.
keep you, whether near or far away. May you find that long-awaited golden day today. May your troubles all be small ones, and your fortune 10 times 10. May the good Lord bless and keep you till we meet again. May you walk with sunlight shining, and the bluebird sings in every tree. May there be a silver lining back of every cloud you see. Fill your dreams with sweet tomorrow. Never mind what might have been. May the good Lord bless and keep you till we meet again. May the good Lord bless and keep you till we meet again. Go in peace.